let's talk about what is high sensitivity. Welcome to the Shannon Solange Show. We're so grateful to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. No.
Hi, Bibi.
Hi.
Thank you for coming over and allowing me to ask you some interesting questions.
Anytime, of course.
Let's give people a little bit of a background story. So I know you from my high school days. We kind of traveled in the same circles.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
In the Kabouterbos and things like that.
Things like that, yeah. We were classified as the rocker group. I don't know, were you also part of that? Yeah, so we were the rockers back in high school.
Yes, we were dressed in black.
Not much changed here.
It changed here a little bit.
So Bert, who's my creative partner from Curacao Curious, well, he does clinic clowning with you.
Exactly, my creative partner in cleaning clowning.
Yes, exactly. And he told me some stories, like, you know, working with you, he's like, oh my God, Bibi did this thing and it reminds me of you. You guys have the same quirks and they're all relating to high sensitivity. And I haven't really had a connection with someone in Curacao before who like deals with the same highly sensitive things that I deal with. So I found it very interesting and it prompted me to ask you here to talk about this subject matter.
Yeah, and I think it's a great topic to talk about because I have a feeling more people have issues with it or experience it, but it's something you don't really talk about because it's not always fun, and it's not something you open up about. I think you kind of hide it.
And why do you think that is? Like, why do we feel that it's something we should hide?
Because I have the feeling a lot of other people feel as if we're like over exaggerating or we're whiny or get over with it or deal with it, and yeah, but that, not everybody of course, but those are some general reactions I get about it, or that I fear to get perhaps.
Yeah, like we're just being overly sensitive.
Yeah, and I think we're living in a society nowadays where you have to be cool and tough and fit into the little, you know, slots that society makes, and if you don't, then you don't
fit in.
You don't fit in, and that's not my goal, but if you don't fit in, then you're weird. As when we were teenagers, we were the weird ones.
Definitely.
Yeah.
and still.
Yeah.
So as per your understanding, how would you define high sensitivity?
I define high sensitivity as being able to sense everything that's happening around you. Like, there's no filter. You hear everything, you see everything, you smell everything, you feel it, like as in a tactile touch, but you also sense people's emotions, their stress, even in nature sometimes, you just feel everything.
Even if you're not highly conscious, you're processing everything in your environment constantly. Yes. So the more there is to process and fighting for your attention, the more draining it is on your system.
And sometimes I will get really grumpy, irritated, tired, and not know why. And then you think back, you're like, oh wait, I was there and this happened and there was loud music or a lot of people or a lot of input, and then
And how did you find out that there's a term for what you were experiencing?
I never really gave it a term or like a title. I think it's quite recent, after having a child and having to adapt your life to someone else's needs, that I really started to notice that I had my patterns and my ways of living, and once I got out of that it was more difficult. So I never really gave a stamp to it, like I'm highly sensitive, but you know, people mention it, and then you start reading about it and you recognize it's like you tick every box in the books. You're like, yeah, I guess that's what I am or have or experience.
So you're not a big fan of labels?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, me neither. And so when I read, for me the introduction was first a book called Quiet, and after that I stumbled across a book by Elaine Aron, and she's a psychologist who did a lot of research on this, is highly sensitive herself, and she coined the term, if I'm not mistaken. And I resonated with it so much that I was like, okay, this is the one label that I'll accept into my life, because it helped me so much in understanding myself and feeling less alienated from the world, in a sense.
That does help. That's true. I'm horrible with remembering titles and names of people, so I read a book, and it was so familiar, everything, and it helped get a little peace of mind about, like, okay, I'm not completely sick in my head, and there's more people who have it, and that's, yeah.
It's somehow comforting.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
And also because then you can read about, okay, so this is why I'm this way, and how can I ease my suffering, in a sense, because sometimes it does feel like suffering when you can't cope in a world that's like overwired and overstimulated and too loud and etc. So learning about coping mechanisms for me especially is very helpful. What are some of the things that you've discovered that can help you dealing with it?
Accepting that I need time on my own and taking that time and not feeling bad for others, that I need time on my own, setting my boundaries, wearing earplugs, not going to certain places, just really telling people, sorry, if I go there, I will be horrible the next day, or so have fun and I'm gonna stay home. And I think it's really not being ashamed of giving like my boundaries and not going over them either. I think that's it. And going out into nature, going into the ocean. The ocean is is really my big friend. I get really relaxed being there. It helps me to just go sit on a rock or on the floor somewhere on the beach or in nature, and just that works. So if that's meditating, then maybe I do that, but
sounds like it.
Yeah. It's more that I adjust, that if I know there's a restaurant where there's loud music, I don't go there.
Let's talk about some examples of a situation where your high sensitivity creeps up. What does that look like?
I have the most issues with sounds, and I'm not sure if that's high sensitivity or perhaps even heading into misophonia. I'm not sure how to pronounce that in English, but that. I hear people breathe, I hear people swallow. I get so angry, it frustrates me, and I get up and I leave. And I'm not sure if that's my high sensitivity or a combination of several aspects, but that creeps up lots of times during the day. Other than that, it's any daily situation, maybe at work, that suddenly you're distracted because you notice a bright color somewhere, or a change in something, people's mood. I think I'm very sensitive to that as well. You walk into, or someone walks into a room and they have a smile on their face, but you sense that it's war in their head, and trying to find a balance in blocking that away, not taking it in and taking over that feeling.
And are you very successful at blocking other people's?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Because I was just going to ask you, if you have a tip, tell me, please.
Oh, you don't have tips for me either. Oh, man. Oh. No, that's very difficult.
You mentioned sensitivity to noises and that you also wear earplugs. So what kind of earplugs are these?
They're from Flare Audio, and they're not closed. They're small rubber earplugs, and they're open in the middle, so you hear everything regularly, but they kind of balance out the sound waves to make it less intense. Yeah, it helps. What it does, like for instance, my daughter, of course, as every kid, wants to go to Sambil, to the indoor playground, where there's really loud music and kids screaming and smells of food and everything just going in a tornado around there. And when I put them in, maybe it's just a mental thing, maybe that's my shield. That could be like a shield I put in. I get less frustrated, or I can stay there longer than if I don't wear them. And it could be a psychological thing. It doesn't help for really extreme situations. But if I put in the earplugs, then I know I'll manage and I'll be okay afterwards. So it's for busy surroundings, they help out a little bit, that I can stay there a little longer and be okay afterwards.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned that how other people react to you having difficulties with sounds in this case. How do you experience that? How do you cope with that?
It's difficult because you don't want to bother people, you don't want to hurt them, because I have it especially with people who are closer to me, and you feel like a nuisance. But they also feel like a nuisance to me, but I know they don't do it on purpose, they have no control over it, but neither do I. So it's difficult. It's very difficult, and you kind of try and accept it and try to explain it to people as well. At first I wouldn't tell anybody, and now I'm trying to accept it and just telling people, like, listen, I'm sorry that I keep sticking my finger in my ear or covering my ears, or that I just walked away, but this is why, and don't take it personal, please, and should be all right now. And because people, once they hear that, they become quiet and careful, so they become tense, and then you feel that. And it's this vicious circle that just keeps repeating, and that's, it's not always fun.
What I liked learning about was that the trait of high sensitivity was probably helpful back when, like when we were cave people. Survival, yes. And our kind is a minority because we need more people in the front line battling whatever threats there were, but you also need a minority of people that hear the threats coming, before anyone else realizes it, to warn the rest of the people, so
that's a nice way of course, realizing and accepting it a little bit more, seeing that
once you can turn a positive spin on it, you feel like less of a nuisance to society, or like it's I was very harsh on myself. Really? Why am I so overly sensitive? Why am I this? Why am I that? And I just had to come to terms with it in that way. How's the balance for you between accepting this as a good thing and feeling like a burden?
It really depends on the situation. For instance, working as a clinic clown, it's great to pick up everybody's signals, and you can really use that. But in a setting at home or in a busy setting, it can be really annoying. I can't pinpoint it. It really depends on who I'm with, where I am.
For me, it's been more about just embracing it as a strength and owning that strength instead of being in the dog-eat-dog corporate world. Like, why would I put in all that energy to try and compete with people that are not really, like, I'm not up to par in that area? I'd rather just be a writer and work home alone, or create content, things like that. So
I think a positive thing to being high sensitive is that I think the majority of the people are really creative in several fields even, because I think you're a lot more open to detail. You sense a lot more, so that gives a lot of inspiration. And the thing is to go along in that and not block it off, and find the time, as what you said, to just sit down and in a quiet room and write and do your things, and to really take the time to do that. That's or write music or film or whatever it is.
That's your thing. You're into music.
And that's something that isn't really happening now. And I think that's also a peace of mind. Like, if I have more time to myself and more quiet time, then that part of my brain gets activated and I get inspiration. And now just, daily life, it just gets blocked out. Same with, what really helps me calm down is embroidery.
Oh, wow.
So that maybe that's a form of kind of blocking yourself off and creating something with little tiny mini details. And I guess the high sensitivity really helps with that, to see these little details, and it also leads to a lot of perfectionism and being a wonderful perfectionist. I think that's part of it. I don't know if you have that as well.
A little bit.
Just a little. Are you sure? No. That much. Yeah, that's another. Yeah.
I actually really have embraced my sensitivity, and I love that I can feel so much because it feels alive, you know?
I don't accept it as much as you do. I noticed that you really said, yeah, I
Okay.
embrace it. I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I'm not there yet, but it'll get there. It just pops into my head now. I think there's a lot of kids nowadays as well who maybe have the same, or and they haven't learned to cope with it, and then they might get a tantrum or they might freak out, and then a teacher or a parent will get angry and frustrated and give even more input. And that can be quite frustrating. Like, we have the luxury that we're aware of it and we can step out of a situation. And I think that's also something for parents to be aware of as well. There's a lot of kids who are very sensitive to input and situations, and not immediately think someone is whining or fussing about for no reason. Yeah, because nowadays life is fast. And you have to do lots of things, and you have to go to the loud playgrounds, and it has to be fun and action all the time. You don't have time to relax, and that's what a lot of kids are getting, and it can be a lot for them as well. I think it's good for others to read into it and be aware of that, and look around in their circles and see if there's people who are like that as well, or you know, talk about it. Yeah, not just get irritated, but talk about it and see what people need. To others who are not high sensitive, we're not whining. We really feel that. It can really hurt. It can really, and be nice if people would realize that and get out of the general idea of you have to toughen up and go on and fight through everything. And yeah.
It's okay to be sensitive.
Yes, yes, yeah.
What is your winding down process? How do you reset, recharge? What's your magic thing?
Best thing is to be by myself in a quiet location. It might just be my bedroom, and I would prefer it to be completely dark, but that's hard to do. Or being out in nature. I really need my me time, and I don't take it enough. As a mother, I think the bathroom is a wonderful place to, you know, just have 5 minutes of quiet time in a quiet place, and just, yeah.
Try to remember that for someday.
Yeah, the bathroom.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I have to go to the bathroom. And then just go in, and yeah, that usually helps. Yeah, really. I should make a little couch in the bath. I should make like a nice comfy chair there. Ah.
Yeah, so I'm bad at intros and outros, but I'll try to come up with something cool. Bibi, I want to thank you for your time and sharing your story. Very personal story, which is also a very brave thing to do. And I'm very grateful that you're willing to talk about this.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and it's nice to talk about something, private is a big word, but something that not a lot of people talk about. And to notice that, you know, I'm not the only one, not a lonely creature out there with all their weird quirks. So that's nice, and I hope more people will become aware of everything and will hide their own things less.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'll see you in the darkness.
Ooh, yes.
And maybe we should do a shout out with our cameraman. How was this experience for you as a non-HSP?
You know, it's so funny. Like, I was just explaining the thing about being at a training, and she was like, "Don't you hear it?" I'm like, "Hear what?" She goes, "That freaking light." I'm like, "I don't hear anything. It's just right. You don't hear it?" Like, oh my god. And I had lunch, and she goes, "Would you mind?" I'm like, "What? You're hearing my me eating?" Yeah.
The fact that I'm asking you
Yeah,
means
that's your trust thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
really.
Thank you for enduring us.
And for not breathing these entire 3 or 4 hours we've been sitting here. No. No.
It's over, finally!
empathy, empathic. I don't know if I'm saying the right one.
uh,
Empathetic, empathic.
Something, one of the two, or something completely different.
Let's talk about ASP.
Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that we see. No.
We're just sensitive enough.
Oh, nice one. Nice one. Just a tad. Very good one.